Hello, hackers, and welcome to week 2. We have already started decoding how a story is constructed. Now, I put this on the announcements, but you can see in this graphic we have a larger circle, and that larger circle is the common codes for all genres, and then the small circle is the craft features from chapter 12 in our book. That small circle is the common codes for narratives or common narrative codes. These aren't all of the common narrative codes. If you look at the syllabus, I do have a link to what I call the literary web, and this might be helpful for those of you who would also like to or who might like to take the option to write a fictional narrative rather than a non-fiction narrative, as long as it's about struggling or excelling with digital technology, then it will fit the assignment. But we've already started. You have picked out some great common codes for narratives, conflict, dialogue, description, and so forth. We're going to continue doing that work next week. And we're going to do so with a couple of different examples. Before we get to that, though, I just want to mention that I put some basics about Netiquette on the left-hand bar in Blackboard. Everybody has been amazing, and there have been no problems. I just wanted to put something up there in case some of you might not be familiar with Netiquette rules, but a lot of you seem to be very conversant in online literacy, so you might not even need to look at that. So we're going to look at 2 more examples of stories about digital literacy to help us decode the genre, right? This is the way we decode genres. We take a couple or few examples and look at them in detail and figure out what makes them that genre. So what makes these good stories? Our next example is a personal narrative called In the Beginning Was the Command Line, and very long title, but this is by a sci-fi author named Neil Stephenson. Now, he's writing a nonfiction personal narrative here that we're going to read, but he also writes a lot of science fiction. He is very important to a specific genre called cyberpunk, if you've heard of it. But we're only going to read the first 5 pages of his memoir, so it's very long. When you click on the link, you don't have to read the whole thing, just the first 5 pages will do. We're also going to read a story called I Am Not a Computer Programmer by one of my colleagues, Alexandria Lockett, where she talks about not knowing anything about Linux and then kind of stumbling onto it and figuring out there's a lot more there than she realized. So we're going to read these 2 stories, and we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. We're going to try to pick this out. Now, they'll probably be using a lot of the same common codes that Judith Newman used in To Siri with Love. But that just means that if we find several instances of these common codes, we know that's probably going to be an important way for us to write our own example. So I want to take just a moment and explain why we're writing blogs. We're working slowly up to that. We're really pre-blogging, if you will. All the free writes that we do are pre-blogging, and you could take all of those elements and combine them up and get your rough draft of your blog. In fact, some of your free writes, and I've noted this in the grading feedback, are very close to first drafts. Some of you have already started drafting your blog in the free write, which is fantastic, but if you haven't, no worries. We're still in the early stages. We're still trying to figure out what this genre of the digital literacy narrative is. But I chose for us to do blogs because all of the examples that we read are written to be released on the internet, right? They weren't printed in books, although I think maybe Stevenson was printed in books later, but they were written to be consumed on the internet. So they're very much like a blog in that sense. Make sure that you join a group. This is very important, and most of you have joined groups, and most of you are doing great jobs from what I could tell in the group work and the discussion, and many of you may be doing group work outside of Blackboard, and I'm just not aware of it. Just make sure that you show me what you come up with in the discussion board. We're actually going to try to find those common codes again and build the largest list we can, and from that list we're actually going to create a word cloud. Now, what is a word cloud? A word cloud is just something that represents the frequency of a particular word. So if you look at this example, this word cloud is actually from my Facebook account. And you can see that students and digital and writing are all larger than all the other words. The reason that they're larger is because I use those words more often. So what we're doing, and I have a link to explain how to do this, is we're going to take all of those common codes this week for your group and try to create a really good word cloud that shows all of the things that we need to think about when we're writing a narrative. So all of the common codes, and put it to a word cloud. That means that you'll need to have a repeat certain words that you think are very important. For instance, dialogue has come up quite a bit, and I think that would probably be bigger than some of the other common codes for narratives. No worries if this is a little fuzzy right now. I will work with you in groups and on Discord or through email to make sure that we can each group can get these word clouds developed by the end of the week. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at the word clouds produced by each group and see how each group saw the genre of narratives differently, even with the same 3 examples. So I'm going to do a very quick analysis of the common codes that we would find in a very short story. So this is Helen Fielding. She wrote this Twitter fiction. You can see it's very small. Helen Fielding is known for writing Bridget Jones' Diary. And so she's a famous writer, and she's using all of those literary techniques, craft features, common codes for narratives, however you want to say it. She's using all of those in a very short tweet. So I'm going to read the story. The story goes like this. Okay. Should not have logged on to your email, but suggest, if going on marriedaffair.com, don't use your children's names as passwords. So what is going on in this story? Well, we could definitely tell that someone is cheating on someone else, and they were caught. But why does this story work as a story? Well, several reasons. We have characters, right? We have a character, I'm assuming it's the wife who found this account, but I may be wrong here. It's not specified. So one partner has found out that another partner is cheating and knows that they use the children's names as passwords. So this means that not only is this couple having a lot of conflict between themselves because their marriage might be going away, but they have children too. So this ups the conflict. So we have not only characters and conflict going on in this very short story. These are two common codes for this narrative. We can also say that maybe this whole story is really a text message from one partner to another, and so maybe this whole message is actually a bit of what we could consider dialogue, right? So right there that we've found several common codes for narratives in a very, very short story. So that's what I want you to do, and pick out examples from Stevenson's story and Lockett's story. And I don't want you to be discouraged. Stevenson's story is pretty straightforward. Lockett has a much more complicated writing style, so if you have to read it twice, no worries. Get what you can get out of it. What we're really using these examples for are as tools to help decode the genre of a narrative, specifically a digital literacy narrative. All right, so let me know if you're having any problems. Let me know if any of you would be interested in a meeting in real time. What do I mean by meeting in real time? That means that I can be on Discord to chat at a particular time, or I could do a YouTube live thing. I've never done one, but I'd be happy to learn how. Or any other kind of app that you're interested in and you think would be helpful for me to jump on and do something in real time. I will even entertain the notion of joining Snapchat, although I think I'm too old for it. But if enough people are interested, I will certainly do so. All right, well, I hope everyone has a good week decoding this genre further, and I will see you all online.